Hello, social media. Hello to all of you. Hi, you guys. Hello to all of you. Mwah. Welcome to Lakita T. Sharpe's famous book discussion and famous inspirational channel. I am so happy that you guys have decided to join me on today. So I welcome you. Hey, how are you guys doing? Come on in and relax. I know it has been a long day for some of you who have been out there and, working, taking care of the kids and, doing what you got to do. So I understand because you know, I also work at another place as well as I support myself with my dreams or whatever. So I understand. I understand it all. So I get you. You got to do what you got to do until however. But anyway, I'm so happy to be here and just be in the house tonight. And you guys, welcome. I am Lakita T. Sharpe, and I am the author of over 100 books over at Amazon.com. I can't believe that I have written those books by the grace of God. Nobody but God, let me say to you. So I am so happy to be here. May He give me strength to get through this video. So you guys, welcome. So today's book discussion, let's talk babes, is how to be more intentional in your life. That's right. How to be more intentional in your life. Now, when we look up the word, now let's look up the word. Intentional definition. Okay, so when we look up the word intentional, it says intentional describes an action done on purpose, planned, or deliberate rather than accidental. It signifies that a person acted knowingly with conscious intent and is often used to distinguish planned actions from mistakes. So basically, it's an action done on purpose, planned, deliberate, rather than accidental. Okay, so planned, purpose. If you be more intentional in life with what you are doing, and this can trickle down to every area in your life, intentional about how you're doing finances, how you're planning out your finances. Yes, it is actually good to plan out your finances and to budget your finances and to watch where your money is going and how you're doing things, and being intentional about using your time wisely and being intentional about with, everything that you are doing, everything in your life, everything that you are going through and dealing with, for you to be more intentional, even intentional in relationships. How are you speaking? How are you talking? How are you going about in your relationships? Are you being more kind, more thoughtful, being intentional, not being intentional where you're being mean or hateful towards somebody, but you're being intentional, because some people can be like that. I'm being intentional. I'm doing that by intention, by treating them bad. But that's not a good thing, okay? Because you don't want to treat people bad, because that can come back on you. So you got to be careful how you're doing things. So you need to be more intentional with being better with how you treat others. Me and someone I was talking to this week was saying you got to be careful how you treat others. That's the important thing. Okay, it's how you treat others, because why your life will show up for you. You wonder why some people are so blessed, why they are the way they are, why they look the way they do, why God is being good to them the way He is, because why they are intentional with what they're doing. They're good to people. They make sure they are very good to people. So being intentional about how you're working. I'm working here and picking this job and being intentional about where I work, because of X, Y, and Z. Maybe, you're working in home health care, or you working like in medical field, what you're doing. Pretty much like me or whatever like that. I do extra work in the medical field and stuff like that as well, and to help support my writing. And so being intentional, being good to people, showing love, being an assistance, being kind, to others, doing the best you can with what you have, with the resources you got. All of that is being intentional. Check out my book over at Amazon.com. You can purchase this book over at Amazon.com. How to be more intentional in your life. Again, that's how to be more intentional in your life. And then this is the front cover. This is me in the front cover. And this is the inside, how to be more intentional in your life. This is it. And as we go through it, we have about 12 chapters that's inside of the book. And chapter 1, living life with more intention, which what we have been talking about, living life. There's a picture in chapter 1, and it says live more from intention and less from habit. So yes, and it talks about being intentional, as we discussed in chapter 1, and then we go to chapter 2. This is the book. And it talks about chapter 2, which is something is very important. Smart. Be smart. Yes, be smart with what you are doing. Sometimes we're not using our minds. We're not thinking. We're not thinking about life. Maybe we want to add on more things. But we're not thinking about. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Let me go ahead and just break it down. Maybe you want more children. Maybe you, want to bring more children in the world, but it's already hard with the one you have. It's already hard with the 2 you have, but you're struggling. So, bringing in more children, that's going to cause more pressure on you. You're putting more on yourself, and you're just putting more on yourself that you have to bear and you have to go with, when you can just think and plan out the best way you can before you go and have more children. Being more intentional. Maybe you want more cars, you want more homes, but yet you're struggling to take care of the homes that you have. You're struggling to take care of what you have in front of you, but you're adding more on to yourself. The more you have, the more you have to maintain. Okay, I hired a family member, and I hired a house staff to be my executive and to be my housekeeper. And let me say, in that experience, I learned that you have to manage people. When you're a boss and you're hiring people, now you got to manage them. You got to manage them and manage their different personalities. And then you got to manage things. Then you got to become a manager. One person told me today, customer service woman told me, she was like, hey, my boyfriend is a manager and he complains all the time about the employees because he got to sit there and manage all of them. So you got to be intentional. You just got to know that, hey, if I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this thing with intention. I'm going to be smart about it. I'm not going to be dumb about it. I'm going to use my mind and I'm going to do what I got to do, and be more intentional about what, you are doing, being more intentional. That's pretty much. So being smart, being smart with, your life, making wise decisions, asking God for wisdom and guidance. Just as he gave Solomon wisdom, he will do the same for you. And may God, will he do it? Will he do it if you just lean on? Check out this book, How to Be More Intentional in Your Life. You can purchase it over at Amazon.com. This is How to Be More Intentional in Your Life. You can purchase it over at Amazon.com. Okay, so we're going to talk about chapter 4. And in chapter 4, as you can see it, there is a picture of a man and a woman, and they are rushing for time. Yes, the time is now, and they're like rushing for the time. So it's no waiting till the last minute, not waiting to the last minute to do things. Chapter 4, not waiting till the last minute to do things. How many of you wait to the last minute to do things? When I was going for a job, an extra job to help support me in my writing, right? I had everything. The job asked for certain things or whatever like that. So I made sure before I walked in that door, I had everything lined up. Everything lined up. So when I walked in, did the interview, they were like, wow, I have never seen someone who has all their ducks in a row and who has it together. I have never seen that. Nobody ever has it all together. So that's what one of my, how can I say, my leaders said that, right? So pretty much it's like crazy, right? But intentional, being intentional about the way you're doing things. I think this book would help you gain an insight, some more wisdom, some more insight, some more knowledge. Okay. Well, how to be more intentional in your life. So I really think this will be a great idea. Being more intentional with your work. For example, if you have a busy day tomorrow, then you do what you got to do today. Be a step ahead of yourself and prepare today. So tomorrow it's already, you already did it yesterday or today. And when you go into the next day, it's already done. That is like being intentional. That's being prepping for the next day. Well, this is my time. I gotta go. So I will see you guys in the next video. Check out this book over at Amazon.com. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Bye.